This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're giving you views over quarantine without trying to get the rain roof in the shot. Why? Because, well, apparently we're in store for a lot of rain today. And I'm talking 20 odd mils throughout the day. So, hopefully we can manage all of this. But either way, we've got the rain roof on for this morning. My name is Lauren and I do have Gert on camera with me today. And I don't know what my plans are, to be perfectly honest. Tristan went west, so I may as well go east or south. Who knows? But let's bumble before the rain really does start. I was going to fix my blanket. It's hanging down here. But yes, just some updates on yesterday. We obviously lost Dark Main in the drainage. And we're not going to bash through the drainage right now after the animal. And hyenas rocked up at the carcass. I'm so mad for not sitting with the carcass, but it's also a hit or a miss to just sit and look at a dead animal. Will something arrive? Will something not arrive? And Corky was definitely there. Then Tandy rocked up, and then Darkbane rocked back up. It's quite eventful, I do believe. But either way, hopefully we're in store for something good today. And this is live and interactive, so you guys can talk to us. And please do. That's what it's all about. There's no point in me and Tristan driving around in silence, talking gibberish. We may as well talk to you guys. So please do send in your questions and your comments. Use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or you can use @FC on the YouTube chat if you prefer. Or if you don't like either of those options, you can head over to the WildEarth website. And as long as you've registered, you can submit your questions there. Ooh, quarantine looks gloomy, and yesterday it was really hot. I had on a short-sleeved shirt and shorts. But today it's gone back to being very cold again and very gloomy. But kids, if you are watching, and I very much hope you are, please send in your questions. Tell us your name, your age, and your favourite animal via email. And the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. You can ask me about anything, really. Almost anything. It's definitely not warm. Now, quarantine used to be, when I first started here, with Tristan, Jamie, and James back in the day, quarantine was a hubbub of activity. We would sit doing our checks and you would hear alarm calls and just run, sometimes without coffee. Yikes, we used to leave without coffee. Or we would hear sawing. And I saw someone in the chat the other day said they miss hearing a leopard saw, and I get that. I also have not heard a leopard saw in so long, and I think it's due to the fact that Tingana's not here anymore. He was a big sawer. That's not a word, it's not going to work. Tandy used to be here. Tandy cat used to be right in this area. We used to have regular sightings of her in the heart and the core of Djuma, but no more. She's shifted. Of course, Tingana's now nomadic, and Mulwati, well, as gorgeous as he is, he's a bit of a ghost, shall we say. We don't see him and we don't hear him. Kalamba, of course, saws, but she is a woman of mystery. International Women of Mystery, Kalamba Powers. Anyway, I'm going to focus now and really try to look for tracks, listen for animals, and as I do that, let's take a look at the weather.
Just picked up tracks for what looks like the Telematis crossing the road here, or lying in the road here, Just want to see where they go. It looks like they've cut over southwards because nothing is here, so we'll try to follow these. I'm just going to quickly check where all these vultures were that Lauren had last night, and then we'll get into the proper tracking side of things, but they look like they went straight over. Anyway, my name is Tristan. On camera I've got Mpo, and it is lovely to have you all along for the ride this morning. Hopefully it will not be a very, very wet one, although the weather forecast says otherwise. Today we actually are prepped and we have the roof on, and because we probably have the roof on, it won't rain. This is always how it works. Whenever we're like, nah, we'll be okay, no roof, it rains and causes a whole big story. Every time we're like, no, we need the roof, then it always doesn't rain. So let's see how we go. But yeah, we'll try and track these tracks. Not that confident that they're probably still on our property, but let's see. We'll give it a bash. And Paul says he knows where the vultures were, so we'll check there. But they definitely went straight over because there's no tracks coming up now onto this area. With that number of feet, you would be able to pick up pretty quickly if they were still walking on the road. Just want to quickly check here, nice and slowly. Nope, so nothing there. Alright, what we'll do is we'll just take Impala planes southwards. That will hopefully get us into the right spot. Surprised we haven't actually seen many trucks for Cara of late. This is normally a lot of trucks for her around this area. Maybe with just the hardness of the roads, we haven't seen a lot of trucks in that regard. I was also kind of thinking about maybe heading on the eastern boundary because Tundi was seen last night at that kill with Darkmane. She killed a scrub hare and then ran away. So typical of her. Well, not ran away, she nonchalantly walked away. There's one vulture there. Was it here, Mpo? Further on. Okay, so if we have one vulture there, that's just a white back, so we're not going to worry too much about that. Alright, I'm sure the rain is going to come in, and as soon as it does, unfortunately JP will have to go home. But before it does, let's send you across to him to say good morning and see what he's going to get up to.
Good morning and welcome to Bushwalk. We're live at Eco Trading Pridelands. Yes, and the rain does look very real for this morning. Over 24% chance of precipitation, which is quite high. We're already feeling a few drops, but we are hoping to get out there and do a number of different segments. So my name is JP Leroux, and behind the camera we've got BK. So one of the things that I've noticed this morning is how the dawn chorus is starting to becoming more and more notable. And what we also quite often find at this time of the day, with the temperatures being quite cool, is precisely when birds start singing. And the reason, the air is cool and their voice can actually travel much further. You also want to start calling early in the morning so that you can proclaim your territory, that somebody else doesn't come and sneak in there and try and take it over unnecessary. A lot of the birds will now start breeding, and we also hear a number of duets as well as calls between birds that they will try and attract a mate. Some of the duets that we've heard this morning was that from the crested francolins, and then we have also heard a number of courtship display calls of a number of the different hornbill species. One of the other birds that I always like to hear is that the Birchall's cuckoo's call. Unfortunately, he's now gone quiet, but it's such a beautiful and distinct bubbly call that sounds like a bottle of water that's kept upside down. For today, he's most likely going to call much longer than normal. And in the early days, they actually used to nickname him the Rainbird, as it was believed that he predicted rain. However, it's simply calling much longer because the air is cooler, and therefore it will advertise its territory for much longer than normal in the early part of the morning. We generally find outside the breeding season that birds' calls are quite limited, and we don't have this beautiful dawn chorus which we normally experience at this time of the year. And then at that time of the year, the calls are basically restricted to contact calls and a number of other basic calls that they will produce. Well, we're going to sit here a little bit longer and we're going to see what's happening, and we're hopefully going to find some animals. And we're also sitting listening to hear if there's any breaking of branches or movement of animals coming in. We're also always listening for calls such as hyena, lion, number of other predators that is worthwhile following up onto. And in the meanwhile, let's go and see what the rest of the team is up to.
We're taking a very prominent, actually, it used to be a game path. Back in the day when I first came here, it was more a game path than a road, but it's definitely a road now. As you can see in front of me, it looks very much like a road. But still, the animals will still sort of use it as a game path. And it takes you from the sort of core area of the property to a dam. And it's a really good place to check. I've had some of my best sightings here of just animals cutting through. They know the lay of the land. They know the paths. They know how to get from A to B the easiest way. Now, if you think about it, walking on this sort of terrain, I mean, it's very open right now, but it's not as easy as strolling along a road. You've got to like move over vegetation, swivel around branches, swivel around trees. If the grass is long and it's wet, so a lot of animals just use the road. They expend less energy using the roads than they do in the blocks. And that's why game paths are a really good place to check. And that's what we're doing. I'd really like to see a leopard today. Big bird, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get it. Do you think we can get this with the rain roof on? Let's try and work it. It's very tricky when we've got the rain roof on. It limits the camera's ability. I cannot really see what that is from here. I know that it's a big bird. It looks like a juvenile of sorts. I think it could be a brown snake eagle. Juvenile. I also could be wrong about that. You can normally tell the juveniles. They've got sort of like patchy coloration and they just look a bit scraggly. I don't know if scraggly is a word. Is that a word? Okay, we're going to sit here a little bit longer and try and identify this bird.
Right, so we haven't picked up the tracks again yet. Found all the vultures, which I'll go back to just now. There's also tawny eagles, so we've got white-headed, hooded, white-backed tawny. Battalier. Always, that means something is dead there. Just got to find what it is. These birds of prey, they do congregate in groups sometimes when you got bad weather, but last night we didn't have bad weather. The vultures should have been able to fly quite a bit last night. So what I want to do is quickly just track these lines just to see their direction was and where they've ended up. If we don't find any sign of them, then we can go back, or if we do find signs of them going out or whatever it may be, we can always go back to those vultures. And if they're still hanging around later in the morning, that's also a good sign that there's something still there. I don't think it can be lion related because all of our lions were accounted for yesterday. None of them were in that area. So maybe just something died of natural causes. It does happen from time to time. So yeah. Alright, no tracks here, which is surprising because they should have come out here. So I'm going to go down towards Impala Plains. Often they like to cross in those areas. And if nothing there, then we'll take the boundary back up towards the power lines and then come back in again. James, that's a very interesting thing. So a lot of you will have no idea who this leopard is, but there's a leopard called Wabayiza. It comes out of the Mbali Hamilton Hoya Hoya concession, and he's been seen a few times in random little spots on that eastern boundary, but not for a while. And last night he appeared on the Nkoro Dam cam. and coming out of that area, which is interesting because that's normally quarantine's area, and that's where the kind of interest is that where is quarantine and why is this young male or younger male in an area where he normally would be. So yeah, I don't know what the kind of reasoning would be that he's there. Maybe it's just a water thing and he's found himself in that area. Could be that he's starting to push back this way, try and reclaim some territory this side. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting if he starts hanging around there more and more. Seems like a nice leopard that. I don't know how skittish he is these days, but he wasn't too bad at one point when he was here. He was seen on Buffel's Hook a few times, and he was alright at night. So yeah, hopefully they can work on him and hopefully he'll be around. But it does kind of feel weird that he would be there if quarantine was still going strong in that area. But maybe because quarantine isn't there at the moment, there's a little gap that he's seen, and that's why he's moving in. You know, leopards will respond to lack of pressure, and if you look at, for example, like Tavangumi, when he came in, he managed to slide his way in between Nklangula and Tortoisepan and kind of into the area where Hukamuri was. So even though Hukamuri, he did die, but you know, if Hukamuri had moved a little bit, then there's always gaps for these males to push themselves in and start to try and expand their own territories a little bit in order to have more access to mating and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he sticks around. It's weird because I mean that's also the last few times that we've seen kind of Tingana ranging. He's been down that way, so a bit unsettled, a leopard dynamic on that side of the world. Alright, so I was just checking in pilot planes. We know often lions like to lie in clearings, so just making sure they didn't come this way, but they might have also cut more towards Zoe's side. So what I'm going to do is go back up Triple M, check the power lines. If nothing, go down Zoe's, check if they haven't gone that way. But my gut tells me that they're somewhere this side. We've just got to find them. In the meantime, let's send you across to Lauren and see how she's going on her bumble.
Look what we have come across. On a grey, gloomy day, we found a grey Pachyderm. The best. I think the mother and youngster here were just having a nap, actually. They do that, and look at the size of her tusks. They ain't small. A lot of the females here actually have quite short tusks, but these are huge. And sometimes when they stop on the road like that, they're semi-awake. They're going into a period of rest, if you like. Oh, I wish I could do that. I read a fascinating study recently about microsleeps in the body. The human body can go into microsleeps periodically throughout the day without even being consciously aware of it. It definitely doesn't feel like it sometimes, though. That's so sweet. Got a six-legged elephant here. I don't think it's suckling, is it? Oh, possibly. I thought that was a mouth. It's the ear, yeah, suckling. That's sweet. There's nothing more precious than mother and offspring throughout the animal kingdom, not just mammals, birds, even insects. The sacrifice insects make for their offspring. You see how she's resting her trunk on the ground? You see that? Yeah. Oh, okay, she's just picked it up. She's smelling us. And then she's going to put it down again. That's a really good indicator that she's in a sort of state of, she's in a relaxed state and she's just resting. She's letting her youngster drink milk and she's just taking this moment to rest. When the trunk's like that, it's a really good indicator. They're busy beings, constantly on the move. It's hard work being a mum. Christine, you're asking the age. I couldn't possibly tell from here. She's a big cow, though. She's a much older cow. And I just got a glimpse there of the calf, and the calf also looks quite big, to be honest. I mean, they stay with mum for a really long time. They can stay in milk for up to 4 years. Obviously, it slowly starts to wean down. Especially if mum gets pregnant again. But she is huge. She's a much older calf. You can normally tell by the body shape. When they get older, there's quite a dip in the spine, if that makes sense, from what would be the shoulder blades to the sort of hip bone, the pelvic bone. There's quite a dip as they get older. And that's a big calf. Very relaxed. We've got more elephants coming on the other side, though. Let's go forward a little bit, see if we can get some better views. That was quite a distant visual. I didn't want to interrupt them because they're in the middle of the road, having a moment. Got one elephant here. Ah, another one. How about this one? Can you work with this? Yeah. It's a youngster. It's been a while since I've had a decent elephant sighting. Tristan's been really lucky with the elephants recently. Elephants will have that intrinsic awareness. And I believe that all organisms out here do, that rain is coming, change is upon us, seasons are changing, and they know what it's going to bring. There'll be an awareness that rains bring life. And winter has been very kind to the elephants, that's for sure. It's not been a harsh winter for them at all. I mean, it's getting pretty dry and probably a little bit harsh now, but still, water is plentiful. Water's everywhere. And there's still a lot of greenery. Let's go forward. I always check because there's poles. Once you put the roof on, there's poles. It makes it very difficult to actually position and try and get the animal not in line with the pole. Maggie, yes, they do. It's amazing how elephants just disappear into the blocks in the thicket. They are huge animals. And yet, they really do disappear, even in winter. Oh? What are you two doing? But yes, they do move quietly. They can also be extremely loud, but yes. They've got an elegant way of just moving through the bush. He's like, this is my branch. I got here first. love it when you watch animals just go out of their way to just annoy one another, and that's exactly what it is. There's no other scientific explanation. Some animals just love to annoy one another. And elephants are the perfect example. When they're just feeling a bit mischievous, they'll just go out of their way to annoy another one, especially younger ones. But Eeps is the same, he just won't let up. He just loves to just paw away at Dandy and annoy her. Megan, agreed. My morning is made. It's gloomy. We're waiting for rain to fall. It's chilly. And then you come across the most majestic of all. It's perfect. Even if you just sit and listen, you don't need to listen to me all the time. Ugh. We're just sitting, appreciating these animals and listening to all the sounds they make. Because although they are quiet, as we just spoke about, they do break the branches and you can hear the dry grass rustling under their feet. Okay, they are moving, but we're going to try and stay with these ellies as long as we can.
Here we are. We are on an expedition. This is the expeditionary force. Behind me, we have seen Tlalamba. We are very excited.
Being nominated to the top 5 and finally being here, for me it's an achievement. Tracks, I believe I did quite well, and the walk.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward.
The storytelling as well. So yeah, I think that's where I see my strongest point.
And then that was the opportunity of the scrappy.
I say the bidding and the call, definitely for me. It was quite a big challenge. Guiding is not all about the award that we have had, but sharing the experience and continue to do what we have passion and love.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
This individual's still here, thank goodness. I only saw 4 elephants. I imagine there will be more. Probably scattered. It'll be a larger herd, and they've just sort of scattered through the block. And there must be something very delicious there. I see a little tear in that left ear. The skin is so thin, no cartilage, no support at the bottom. Gary, I imagine they've been up all night. They're very sleepless. That's an interesting technique. And you're going to walk right into the pole, aren't you? I'm not going to turn my engine on, though. They're quite sleepless organisms. They're not as sleepless as giraffes, but really they take their sleep in short bouts. So they can sleep standing up. They absolutely can lie down. But lying down leaves them quite vulnerable. So unless they've got the rest of the herd standing up. That'll be that. Or are you just going to take your branch with you? Okay. Hello. That's a beautiful branch. You're just showing off now. Young boy showing off. But yes, they do sleep. They absolutely do sleep. It's just sort of split up. It's not like us. We go to sleep for the full 8 hours if we can and don't wake up again. It's not like that. They've got to constantly be aware. But the dynamics will change, especially when there's youngsters, especially when there's calves in the herd. They need a lot more sleep. So they will just all of a sudden go down on the ground. And all the adults will naturally stand around, form a sort of circle, and go into a period of rest, but being aware because they want to always look out for their calves. To be honest, we're not really going to get another view. I wonder if we can maybe go around. I wonder if the animals like Wendy's tune. I don't think so. But yes, they do sleep, and I imagine they've been awake for a while, at least since the sun's been up. Well, the sun is not up, but you know what I mean. The sun is not out, but it's up. Been back a week now, so I can't talk about the past 6 weeks, I'm afraid. But not since I've been back. I've really not had that many elephant sightings. I haven't seen, I think I've had one. This is my second one. Maybe Tristan can answer that question. But in the week that I have been here, Van has not been around. We do know some elephants, and you can, if you have the time, you can actually follow herds and identify the herds. You don't need to collar them, you don't need to do anything, you can just pick out individuals. They don't change herds. So you don't get an individual that all of a sudden says, guys, I am so done with you, I'm going to go and join another group. They don't change. So if you can pick out an individual that you can conclusively say that is Fang, and we know Fang because of our tusks, naturally. But if you can identify an individual, then you can start to follow the herds and follow their movements. And I would really love to get more in depth, but sadly, we've got limited resources here. So we do try to follow individuals, and that's why we do give them names. Maybe they're silly names, but it means you can follow them. I know some of the bulls. We had a bull called Daryl long ago, but I've not seen him. We can recognise Norman. We know Fang. And at least we can try and map out the herds a little bit and watch their movements when they arrive and when they disappear. So talking of Tristan, let's send you over to him.
Right, so our adventures have led us to a leopard in a tree with a kill rather than lions. We found a drag mark, but the hyenas had the drag mark and they came into this block, but this is definitely a fresher kill and the hyenas haven't gotten hold of this. So it looks like Shadulu. I'm just double checking now, but it looks like her. She is pretty efficient, and weirdly enough, this is, I think, the 4th time I've seen her with a kill in this tree. So it's just the tree that she loves. The problem with this tree is that it's on the boundary, so it's going to be a chaotic sighting. But anyway, it's a leopard in a tree, which is as good as one could ask for as a start to our day. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's her. The guys over here were saying they think it's Kara, but it's definitely not her. It's like I say, 99.9% sure that it's Shadulu. She's got that little nick out the right ear, and the spot pattern is different to Kara's. Also, you can see this cat has got maximum chill at the moment. She's super, super calm. There we go. So just confirmed by James that it is Shadulu, which is good. But yeah, it's nice that she's going to have a kill. I mean, she'll be here this afternoon as well, which will be good. Unfortunately, like I said, it's going to be a bit of a busy sighting in some respects. I've had to park a little bit further away from her, not because she's unrelaxed or anything like that, but because we've got this stupid roof on. And so that means that I can't get closer, because otherwise we just hit the roof when we're trying to film. So unfortunately, it's going to be a situation where we're going to have to film from slightly further away. There are lots of hyenas lurking around, and those vultures that we saw, or Lauren saw last night, were for the drag mark that the hyenas had. But like I say, the hyenas dragged that and looked like they might have finished it up. This is not the same carcass. So what might have happened is, with those hyenas feeding on that and the commotion of that, it might have brought Shadulu in, and on the way she's then bumped a dike and killed it and then hoisted it. And why the lions also maybe have come in this direction too is because they've heard that commotion of those hyenas feeding. But whatever carcass it was, it seemed like it was a fairly decent size, maybe something like an impala, because the drag mark was quite wide, and we had a lot of different vulture species and tawny eagles and all those kinds of things, which is indicative of something slightly bigger. You know, if it was a very, very small carcass or something like a little scrub hare or a steenbok or something like that, it would have been, you know, something that would have been eaten pretty quickly, and the vultures wouldn't have accumulated and congregated the way that they did. That's a good way to finish off the stint for me, as today's my last day on the stint, so it'll be a perfect kind of way to finish off a leopard in a tree with a kill. And it's so funny because yesterday I was grumbling about the fact that we hadn't seen many leopards in trees. Okay, Michael Fleetwood, since we're going to be here all morning, we might as well do this quickly now, so you know where we are. Alright, here we go. So we have our map. Michael, you would like to know where she is on the map. So if we have a look up here, Vulture access, right? So where the vultures were is this little block over here, and we are about there. So just below the Gari gate, thing just inside on this red line, just inside the Djuma property, so on the border of Simamili and Djuma. And then just, Michael, because I know that you like to keep track of these things, yesterday morning, Sabui was here just south of Twin Dams, and then at Chitwa Dam in the afternoon, and Tandi was on this little Mamba Road, and she was going kind of eastward last night, just so you kind of have it all sorted and know. But there we go. That's the map and where she is at the moment. And she's going to be for the next little bit. I don't think she's going to move too far. But yeah, she's going to be much like Sabui yesterday, just taking a really good nap and then going to start moving towards the kill and maybe eat a little bit later. So you can try to say she's wonderful, makes you wish you were a leopard. Well, yes, it's a treat to be a leopard. I think if you've got a meal like this and you can make a branch look as comfortable as that, all four paws down, tail down, and one happy full cat at the moment. She's definitely probably enjoying her sleep after a hard-earned meal. You know, catching things like duikers is not easy for any cat. So there's always a bit of effort that goes into that, but she's obviously managed well and is now kind of just enjoying the fruits of her labor by having a little bit of a sleep, and then she'll start to feed. And it's been a bit of a rough time with Shadulu of late. Shame. She's had a tough one since Kara. She's really had very little luck with raising of cubs. So, you know, it's going to, I think, unfortunately, take a little bit of time for her to have another set. Although she has been mating again. But we know with her, the last time she mated, she had to mate multiple times until she actually conceived. So hopefully things will improve and her luck will improve. The situation at the moment with male leopards and things like that is improving on her side. So Tortoise Pan and Tavangumi have really kind of started to separate and have a very hard line. But what is difficult for her is hyenas. That's where her biggest problem lies, is that she's on the boundary. Her territory forms the boundary of both the Djuma clan and the Elephant Plains clan. And that means that she's just got constant pressure from hyenas. We saw her cub being eaten by hyenas, last year, which was traumatic to say the least. Not very nice to see a hyena run in and grab a tiny little cub and then eat it whole. That's pretty rough. So yeah, she's had a bit of a tough one, but hopefully, she'll eventually kind of get it right again and produce cubs, because she's such a wonderful leopard, and she's, I'm sure, capable of producing some really epic offspring for us to follow over the generations and years. All right, well, we'll, like I say, stay with her for the remainder of the morning. We'll just take it easy and see what she gets up to.
Good morning, stations in the east. Does anyone copy me? Any updates?
There's a standby available to Mrs. Muscon's got a Yari.
Can you just give a thumbs up? Awesome. Can I take a standby on Chitwa? Copy. I'll come closer to get better comms.
Lauren, if you copy me, stand by 4 behind Saber.
Copy. Okay. I don't think we've got comms. AFC, come in. Oh, hello everyone. Apparently we're live. We do have elephants. Hello, guys. Hello, you.
Well, we just repositioned a little bit, so we've got a much nicer view of Tswalu. But Jared, I need to ask you a big favor. If you can please just let Lauren know. I've just got a message now that the Djuma Pride has killed a buffalo at Chitwa at room 11, and the whole pride is there with cubs and everything on the kill. So if you want to just let Lauren know so she can head in that direction, I think it will be very, very good of you. Please, because I can't obviously use the radio, and her radio is off when she's live, so we just keep missing each other. But that's very exciting that the little Djuma cubs are around. So lots happening today. It just goes to show when you get this overcast weather like this, the cats are in full form. Last night it was very windy, and we left Sabi because she was hunting and we didn't want to disturb her. And it just goes to show that all the cats seem to have been quite busy last night. I mean, there's this kill here. There's the Nkuhumas now on a buffalo. The Talamatis were around, so I wouldn't be surprised they also have been busy. I'm pretty sure we're going to end up with something or other that is going to be epic on Djuma as well, besides all of this. Very cool to see her, though, isn't it? Like I said, they're going to have a situation where we're going to see them for the whole of today and probably even tomorrow. It's very exciting. When we get leopards on kills, it always makes things that much better. So, we'll see what she gets up to. I don't think she's going to do too much. I mean, everything about her situation is perfect. She's got a kill up in the tree. She's got herself on a nice branch. She's just taking it very, very easy and is resting and relaxing. So there's no need for her to do anything, really. And it's such a cool tree, this. It's why, like I said, I think we've had her in this tree maybe 4 times, maybe more. It's a tree that she's utilized, and it's because of the shape of it. If you look where she's lying, it is the most perfect leopard branch that she's on at the moment. It has a kind of very, very horizontal platform. It's got like a little curve in it where for her belly to sit. Nice wide branches, so it's not like she's kind of having a branch cutting into her chest. It's just everything a leopard needs to be super comfortable. Very cool. Well, it seems like Lauren and my mornings have been made. We've got leopard here, we've got lions, both on kills, which means they're not going to go anywhere. Hopefully it will continue like that. Eric, a lot of you will know that it's Eric from Ngala. He's actually sitting behind me at the moment. He's going to be taking over from me tomorrow. I know a lot of you have been asking. So he's super excited to explore Djuma, and it's going to be a good start for him because it's going to be choice, which is not always the case here. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky. But yeah, he's going to have tomorrow morning be spoilt a little bit for choice, which is good. It's always nice to start off like that when you're in a new area. To start off and see kind of new things and have it sort of ease into it rather than having to struggle off the bat. And it's a bit like Tessa too. I mean, Tessa, when she came in, also we had a few good things pretty quickly when she got here. So yeah, I'm sure you guys will enjoy having Eric here, and I know he's going to enjoy it. Sabi Sands is always a crazy place to be. Sometimes we forget in Djuma how spoiled we are with just density of particularly leopard, and we sometimes say it's been quiet and haven't seen a lot, but if I think about this stint now, I haven't seen the normal kind of numbers of leopard, but we've still seen lots of different individuals. We've had Tortoise Pan and Inzitini, we've had Tswalu, Kalahari, Tandi, Marip, Sabui, Shasha. It's crazy when you think about how many different leopards we're actually seeing here. Tavanvumi, it's a pretty crazy place in many ways, especially because the property size is not as big as everyone thinks it is. If people think about Djuma and they think it's massive, Djuma is actually a very small property. So to give you an idea, Malamala, Londolozi, Singita, those properties are about 15 times the size of Djuma. So 15 is a big number. And you look at the density of the leopards that they have at those properties and how many leopards they see, and you work out how many we're seeing here. And I gather and I completely understand that some of those leopards are just fringe territories, and we see some in kind of inside Buffelshoek and Torchwood and Chitwa. So if let's make our area slightly bigger and say that those properties are maybe 10 times the size of what we can traverse, I reckon we still have more leopards than Singita's got, and we have probably equally, in fact maybe even more than Londo's, but equal with Mala. It's a crazy number up here. And it's because we have the perfect storm in this area. We have dense, thick areas, not a lot of clearings. We have a lot of water, in fact too much water, which has led to a massive population of the favorite prey animals of leopards, which is duiker and impalas. You've got an explosion of both of those. And so it's the perfect storm for big leopard populations. And that's why we're seeing so many up here. And it's going to make it difficult for some of the females to have as many leopards as we've got. It's certainly going to make life a little harder. But hopefully what's going to happen is we're going to see Mariep, Shasha and Semba distribute away. And then we'll be left with very solid, very static males for a while, hopefully. And the females then hopefully all come into estrus at the similar time. And we get a situation where they kind of all have cubs roughly at the same time, and therefore their territories will be quite established. They won't have these wandering random females coming out. We know that Kara is looking to mate. We've seen Nzutini mating. Tandi, well, it remains to be seen. I'm not sure she will, but if she does, her and Nkanyeni would be kind of very old for that, but it's possible. Sabui's just lost her cub, so she would be in the same boat. Shadulu's lost hers, so she would be mating now. So the only one that would be kind of out of sync with all the others would be Tiani. But she's doing really well, and she's right in the core of Tortoise Pan's territory, so she should be okay. And those cubs have crossed the really difficult phase, of being in a place where they were very little and couldn't climb. Now they can climb and they can move, so they should be. Chances of them surviving has already increased quite a lot since the first time we saw them. Even though back then they were already starting to climb, they just weren't very proficient, whereas now they're all over the place and found in trees regularly. But Tiani is like her mom, clever. She's very, very, very well versed at looking after cubs. All right, well, we'll sit here, like I say, with Shadulu for the morning, but remember that you guys can come out and join us on an expedition, and you'll be seeing something just like this, hopefully, when you do. Right, well, still with Shadulu. Yeah, she's still just taking it easy. Like I said, it's just not going to do much. Might have the odd hyena come in and out. What is always potential in where we are right now is for Tortoise Pan to arrive. He, or even Tavangumi, either one of them. We're right on that boundary. This is where he kind of comes in and marks his territory and the last time I saw Tavangumi and Djuma was exactly where we are right now too. So it's not been kind of a recent sighting of him, but you never know. Either of those two could kind of see all these vultures and see this movement, because she's so close to where all those vultures are that could then attract one of the male leopards to come in which case she'll lose the kill. As much as she's a big girl, because she's a big leopard for a female, she's a bulky cat. She still has no comparison to a leopard the size of Tortoise Pan, and so he would come in and take this over. She wouldn't disappear though; she'd probably stay quite close. But yeah, she would lose it to them. And the only other animal that would potentially cause a threat is if the Telemates also followed those vultures and came in and eventually spotted her. They could then climb this quite easily and steal that. So hopefully neither of those happen. It will be nice for Shadulu to have a kill and to enjoy it. You might see a flash going off. It's very dark here this morning because of the cloud cover and the rain that is around. And so there's some photographers that are in the sighting and they're using a flash. As you can see, she's not bothered, and her eyes are closed anyway, so it'll be okay. But it's just to try and fill in a little bit, to give it a bit more kind of oomph. It's very tricky lighting this. It's so white behind them, and the animal is quite dark underneath the canopy of the marula tree, that it's hard to photograph that. That's why guys often use a full flash. Michael, you were saying we need some female cubs until... It was male cubs or female cubs until the male or female density. I think it's either or, actually, to be honest with you, Michael. It's a mess at the moment. Male cubs until the females settle. To be honest with you, Michael, it's a problem all round. I mean, we have too many males too. It's a ridiculous number of males. If we count the males at the moment, potentially there's quarantine. Wabayiza now has made an appearance yesterday. You've got Inhlangula, this Timbavati male, this male that they call Jigga Jigga up in the north. Tavangumi, Tortoise Pan, Shasha, Tsemba, Marips, who am I missing? Molawati. That's 11 male leopards in an area that is not very big. We're talking that total hectarage, you're probably looking at, I'd say about 8,000, no, not even 7,000 hectares. So 11 male leopards, if you think that a male leopard's territory size on average in the Sabi Sands should be about 6,000 to 9,000 hectares, to have 11 in 7,000 is a big problem. So there's too many males as well. It's not just the female dynamic that's all over the place, it's the males too. And we're seeing it. We're seeing random males in random places. We're seeing a lot of pressure on the females because of it. So what we really need is we need Hosana to stay where he is, as much as it's not nice, and it would be nice if he pushed back this way, but he needs to stay where he is in Ottawa. We need Tortoise Pan to dominate the way that he's dominating around this sort of western part, although he's getting pressure from Flat Rock from the south at the moment. And then you've got Mulawati block, Tavangumi slightly to the north, and then Inhlangula and that Timbavati male need to sort their thing out, and then push maybe that Jigga Jigga male up into Manuleti, and they can kind of control the two parts of Buffelshoek, Northern Torchwood, and then, like I say, Mulawati block, and then Wabayiza needs to stay far east, and then it'll be okay from that perspective. But yeah, it's a lot of males, and remember that there's always going to be males that are going to come. It's not like the supply of males is never ending. I mean, we're seeing males regularly arriving in these areas. We've had lots of different males come through. You know, in the past year, there's been Matswari, this Timbavati male, this Jigga Jigga male, Wabayiza. These are all animals coming outside of the Sabi Sands in, and then we're still getting distribution from within the Sabi Sands in the form of Tavangumi. So, you know, it's oversupplied in males, and then the females is just unsettled because there's lots of them too. So it's just going to take a bit of time for everything to balance before we see a kind of nice, even sort of kill on the leopards. But
if you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Civilized to just found some black rhino tracks. A mother with a calf. The calf tracks are so small. They're somewhere here in this area, but it's too dense to walk this way. So we're going to walk around where it's not so dense. Let's hope we get lucky.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward and deposit the scent mark, which is that what they use to patrol their territory.
We managed to get a glimpse of the black rhino, but for safety reasons, of course, we held back and we walked a different way, but it was such a fantastic experience. We didn't just focus on the big things, because it's not all about the big things. We focused on army ants and lots of dung. Civilized did an incredible job, but it's up to the judges now.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Grey, look at that water body, it looks so cold. But naturally, there's always activity. The birds, the hippos, just the sounds, even if you're not looking at much, can heighten your other senses. At Chitwa Dam, I have never not had anything, if that makes sense. There's always something to look at, there's always something to listen to. So I think just for a moment or two, let's just listen to the wonderful sounds around the dam. Isn't it just magical? We got rained on a little bit, but it was really slight. Nothing to worry about. Even when it's raining. Thunder, lightning, hail. The animals are still there, going about their daily lives. It's just not pleasant for humans to be involved. But the Nkuhumas have apparently killed a buffalo. I don't know if Tristan mentioned that. So we're just waiting to get in. But I need to stay on the radio, otherwise we'll miss our... We'll miss our window. That happens often where we turn our radio down and we've missed the window. They've been calling us and we don't respond. That's it. So we are in the lineup. Inkohumas, I don't know how many, I don't know what males are there, but interestingly enough, from Chitwa, Darkmane's not too far away, or he wasn't last night. He's in the southeastern corner of the reserve, and it's very close to Chitwa. Just wonder. I don't know, I have no information, I don't know if the cubs are there as well, but fingers crossed they are. Where's the lock? Room 11? That's literally true. It's right in front of the guest room. If you were staying at Chitwa Lodge and you stayed in room 11, the Inkohumas would have killed a buffalo pretty much in your room. Where's the lock? Room 11. Vicky, you're saying this has to be the best dam in the area. Vicky, I completely agree with you, really. There are many amazing dams around. Gowrie Dam's also amazing. Some of the dams in Buffelshoek, Broken Dam, Big Dam. Kayamanzi Dam is just out this world.
Close to room 11.
But we're not traversing Buffelshoek anymore, and I just have such a relationship with Chitwa Dam. I think it literally is the best dam. If I had to choose any lodge, I probably would choose Chitwa. It's just, I've had some of the most incredible sightings here. Really, from, remember the mass fish die-off? I was actually with Tristan. It's one of my favourite sightings with Tristan. He was the guide. I was just on the back. Fish everywhere along the shoreline. All the animals coming down to eat the fish, the hyenas. That noise just never fails to be entertaining. And Tingana came down. Tingana was eating the fish. In Kahumas, I've had some epic Nkahoma stuff here, really. I remember they were on a hippo, and when I first arrived, the Avokas were mating with the Nkahomas on Chitwa a lot. Fantastic sightings. Maribs has been such a character of late on Chitwa. Dogs, I've had one of my best dog sightings on Chitwa with the Pungwe pack. Best dog sighting of all time in my career. Chitwa just delivers. It really just delivers. Nikki, you're saying it looks so peaceful. Definitely does. Of course, that's before the hippos start. But the hippo vocalization is just, it's just the best. Even birds, actually. I've had some incredible bird sighting here. Once I had a sighting in the air of a martial eagle and fish eagle fighting. Wow, I mean, that's pretty epic. Are you going for the swallows? Oh, nice follow. They don't make it easy. And naturally, the hyenas are all around. I think we'll get some hyena action today as well. If the Nkahumas have killed a buffalo, they'll be attracted to the noise, the smell. They will absolutely know that there's lions on a buffalo, for sure. Okay, we're just going to sit here and wait our turn, I'm afraid. But for now, over to Tristan.
while Lauren waits for her turn, we've just repositioned slightly, not for the better for us, but just to allow some guests to have a proper view. It's quite a tricky tree because there's two spots that you can see nicely. So the one spot, which is what we had just now when we were talking about her, and then there's another spot kind of further forward from that, which is the same view that we've got, just much closer. But because we have the camera, we decided we'd just move back slightly and allow the guests a chance. You know, there's people that have paid a lot of money to get out here, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for some of them. So, you know, it's always nice just to give guests the chance. We, as a company and as guides and you guys at home, you know, we get to see this a lot more than most guests will. And so the sort of respectful thing to do is always just to try and give guests the chance and give them the better view because of how much time we spend. Most guests are not going to spend all 3 hours with this leopard. So they'll typically, you know, see it for a while and then move on. So for us just to give them a bit of space for a while is really no skin off our backs. And it's the right thing to do. We have the advantage of having quite a decent zoom on these cameras, which means we can sit slightly further afield. She's getting a little uncomfortable up there. She's beautiful though, isn't she? I always forget how big she is. She's such a bulky little cat for a female. Her and Sabi definitely, it would be interesting to see the two of them sizing each other up, because I would be keen to see who's the larger of the two. Both are quite stocky, but I think Shadulu would take it. She's always been quite a big girl, so I think she would be, my bet would go on her if I had to be a betting man. That's who I would put my money on, but it would be close between the two of them. Unfortunately, Kara, Inzutini, Tandi don't really feature into that, and Kalamba, she's not as tall as Shadulu and Sabi, but I think Kalamba's the bulkiest of all of the female cats. She is massive from a bulk point of view. She's got big forearms, big chest area. So she's a big girl, as old Kalamba in her own right as well. Only thing that will make today better would be to find Kalamba doing exactly what Shadulu's doing right now. That would make life amazing, just to see how she's doing and see whether or not, you know, she's got suckle marks or where she's been, what she's been up to. So let's hope for that. Let's hope somebody finds her in the exact same position as what Shadulu is right now. Excuse me. Oh, look at that. Their little paws crossed. You don't often see them doing that in a tree. Crossing your paws means that you can lose balance. And, the forearms are a place where they keep their balance pretty well. So you don't often see them kind of crossing paws. I don't know if she knows what she wants to do with that paw. I think hanging down is the best place for it. But she's trying to keep it on the branch and keep it together. Anyway, well, carry on with her. Let's see what she does. I'm sure she's going to feed at some point. She looks like she's getting quite restless now.
We're just sitting watching all the activity around the dam, from the birds to the hippos going about their daily lives. But the sounds are just phenomenal. So just for a moment or two, I'm not going to talk. I don't have to. You guys can just sit, watch, and listen and enjoy. it is so beautiful. So much activity. It's almost impossible to narrate, really. Sitting down at the dam, just listening to everything going off around you.
Shadilu's doing her best I'm passed out leopard impression she can. Her head is kind of over the backside of the branch. When they sleep like this, they make me laugh. It almost looks like they are no longer with us and that they've died and just kind of died in the branch there. When they sleep this way, it looks completely uncomfortable the way their head hangs like that. But it seems to work for them and they seem to enjoy it, so who am I to say? Anyway, while we're sitting here now, I heard... It just was too far to make it out, but I'm pretty sure I just heard a Ngala bark or a kudu or something like that, but it was too far to the east of where we are. So I don't know if it was just maybe something that's moving around there. We know that the Talamatis are in the area. We know also that Tavangumi can come this way, so Kara. So I'm not sure who it is at this stage, but let's see. Maybe another leopard arrives. That'd be cool if it does. Perfect. No problem. Yoss is just telling us now that they're going to come back and join us. They just have a couple of people on the vehicle that obviously had too much coffee this morning and need a little coffee break or a loo break. So can't obviously go to the loo under a leopard, so just leave the sighting and then come back to it when they're ready. But yeah, just going back to the dynamic with females, Michael's question is just that, so the females at the moment are not that unsettled. It's actually pretty fairly kind of distributed and everybody's actually got their space. The problem is that we're running out of space quite quickly for all of the cats that we've got. So if you look at what's happened, and the West is probably the best example of this, so the Simbambili Elephant Plains area, you had Shadilu and Tiani that gave birth to cubs and had females that they raised successfully. So Inzutini from Tiani and Kara from Shadilu. So then you've got 4 leopards, right? And then you've got from the south, you had Moya initially, but now there's Markham Sava has come in. And I think they see every now and then Shinzele, I think it's Shinzele. That's also got a cub somewhere on the southern side of Sylvan area. So what that meant is that you've got way too many females in that section, and that's why you're starting to see a distribution of Kara onto Djuma. So Kara came onto Djuma and into Buffelshoek, and Inzutini is just, she's everywhere. I mean, she was seen as far as central Mala Mala, and then she was up here mating the other day. In fact, right where we are right now with Tortoise Pan is where she was mating. So it gives you an idea of how far out of her territory is and which territory she was in. So that side is probably the best example of what happens when we start to get an oversupply of females in a certain area. They start to then push out and start to go further afield. And it's been an interesting thing because the Djuma side of things, the lineage of Karula, all her females have somehow managed to stick it out in this area, and the daughters in the form of Kuchava and Tlalamba have stayed within the immediate area. Whereas on this side, it's always been a case that there's been one that gets pushed much further. So, Nzutini goes and she does her thing, and prior to that, we had a leopard here called Sakani. And Sakani was in this exact area where we are now. And she then got eventually pushed out, and she's now far, far, far south of Skukuza even, where she's now dominant and has had a few cubs that side. So the movement of females is generally, if it gets overpopulated, then they go. But it's also up to the individuals. So it depends on how rough the mother is on the cubs. If she's very harsh and pushes them quite hard, which is probably what Tiani did, and then because of that, Nzutini then started to bump into Shidulu all the time, and then she moved further afield, and then she bumped into Malcolm Sava, and then she would have bumped into Sabui, and that's pushed her into Mala Mala, and through all those females down there, you've got all the different individuals in that side of the world. So that's kind of how females then get pushed away and out of their natal areas. But normally what's happened is there's a carving of a territory. So you'll have this female and a slight carving off that gets given to the daughter. And if you look at Thandi and Tlalamba, for example, what's happened there is the roles completely reversed. So Thandi siphoned off a piece for Tlalamba, and she would have been like, okay, you can take, northern part of Djuma, because initially that's what it was, is Tlalamba was kind of from the camp northwards, and Thandi was the camp south and eastwards. But Tlalamba just went on a rampage and decided that everything that the light touches is hers, and she just pushed everybody away, and even her mother. And she's now taken pretty much her mother's territory on Djuma, as well as even a section of the Torchwood area. She's completely pushed Luna and that Buffelshoek female when she was alive north out of the way there. She's kept Insele from coming into Djuma, because Insele used to come in at Buffelshoek Dam area along Cheetah Cut Line. She's had a few altercations with Insele, pushed her north. And Shidulu and Tlalamba have also had a few little altercations around quarantine. And it seems like she's even managed to now push Shidulu further to the west. So Tlalamba has been is quite an interesting example of how sometimes the daughters can become much stronger than the mothers. And that's an age situation, I think. There's Thandi getting older. She just can't keep up with Tlalamba, and so she's kind of giving way, and Tlalamba is just rapidly expanding. So if we look at Djuma as a whole, we actually have a pretty settled female distribution map. The problem is that we have a very skittish male, and we have a female in the form of Tlalamba that's had a negative experience from losing her cub, and so that's making maybe why she's being so secretive and elusive of late, with the fact that she's potentially going to have cubs now, or is going to have cubs. Maybe she just feels like she can't kind of afford to go through the same thing, and so she's going to be a lot more shy and a lot more protective of this next litter and not show them as much. Not that we saw a lot of the other ones, but you kind of get the point, is that because there was a negative thing there, she's going to try and kind of be as elusive as possible in her attempt to raise it. That's what my feeling is, and why she is the way she is at the moment, and why we're not seeing a lot of her. But the actual dynamic within all of that is pretty settled. Each female's got its little territory. The only one that probably is a little bit lost at the moment, or two that are a little bit lost at the moment, is Watika and Langa. They're still trying to figure their role out within all of this and figure out where they're actually going to dominate. Langa seems to be staying on Southern Hofmans, and Sabui seems to be pushing into Little Gari and Chitwa to make that space for Langa. And Langa is also going into Mala Mala. She's kind of on that boundary there. And Watika seems to be pushing into Torchwood and still kind of following her mom's territory a little bit. But that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out with Nkanyeni being the age that she is. Watika has every chance that she could probably just take over from her mom and literally just replace her mom in terms of the same territory. But those are the only two that are still figuring out where they need to go and what they need to do and where they're going to position themselves within this female structure that we have up here. And it's crazy, we're just rattling off name after name after name after name, and it's ridiculous that we have all of these cats, but it's cool in a way. It's an amazing thing to have so many leopards around it. There's a lot of other places that have this many leopards, there's just not a lot of them that are like this, that will lounge in the tree and not care about the fact that cars are coming past, and we'll just kind of sleep with our presence. If you go into parts of Kruger, you probably have a very similar density, but those animals might not have ever seen a car before in some of those blocks, and so they're never going to want to be seen. Whereas, here we have a history of habituation, which allows us to have these crazy sightings that we get. All right, well, we're going to sit with her, like I say, we'll just enjoy it. It looks like the weather's closing in now. It's gotten much darker. We'll see whether or not we're going to get some rain.
We're in the center of the reserve. It's a much more open area, so a completely different experience. It's also in the afternoon, so just a little bit hot, shall we say. We're following some lion tracks, and then we found the scat of a lion cub. So we didn't see the lions, but we decided to leave the area. It was getting a bit too dense and a bit too thick. So we've come all the way down to the water hole to have a little break, and then we're going to keep walking and see what else we can find. And TJ himself actually reminded us at the start of the walk that when you're on the vehicle, it's all about observing. But when you're on a walk, it's all about immersing yourself in nature, being part of the ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened today.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness.
Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth. Day.
We are making our way in now, everybody. It started raining. See them all. But it's light rain. It's that kind of rain that... Not heavy rain, it's just that sort of rain that makes everything absolutely soaking after a while. But you can barely feel it. Well, in Kahumas, let me tell you.
Well, it seems like Lauren's still having a nightmare with Wendy. So you're back with us again. It's going to just be the case, I think, until she settles and gets stationary there. Hopefully she'll have signal at that kill. It will be a travesty if she doesn't. It'll be so nice to see this little Nkuhuma cubbies. Again, they're so cute and so vocal and so full of it that I really do hope that there's signal with them. I think we'd all enjoy it a lot. And I say we because I think all of you at home, and including us as guides, I must admit, I mean, we all know full well that lions rank very low in comparison to leopards for me. I'm not a huge lion fan, but there is something about lion cubs that is pretty special. They, I think, may even be a little cuter than leopard cubs. Especially when they're tiny, because they're just like little round balls of fluff, and they are so vocal in comparison to leopard cubs. Leopard cubs are generally quite shy and quite sort of wary of what the amount of noise that they make, which is their nature. It's what them, their kind of instinct tells them. Whereas lion cubs, once they feel like they can be part of the pride, then they're like, well, we just own this place, and there's talking and carrying on, and little fluffy bums kind of just going all over the place. And they must admit, sightings of little lion cubs can be seriously cute. That sighting the other day when they were on that giraffe carcass with Ali was as as cute as it gets, because they were just literally making more noise than everybody else. They were walking around just shouting and carrying on, trying to basically outdo all of the others that were groaning and grumbling around the kill. It was highly entertaining to see them like that. So I hope that that's how it will be this morning for Lauren. Be good. But yeah, I think it's going to be not long until Shadulu comes down. Like I say, that rain's starting to come in now, so... Brenda, I certainly don't come up with these interesting names. Most of the names that are given to... So, it depends what happens. There's two ways that names are given to leopards within the Sabi Sands. One is the kind of Mala Londolozi kind of way, with the western sector to a degree as well. And those names are come up with on a basis of where that animal is repeatedly as a cub. So, like Tortoise Pan, Three Rivers, who else? Clearbear Rocks, or any of those. Those are all places and points on a reserve. So the leopard is assigned that identification based off its area of residence. The other way is like what's done up in this area, which is, and the south at Lion Sands to a degree, and even Kirkman's, as well as sometimes a bit of the western sector and Singita. A name is given based off a behavior or a prominent thing that leopard has done. So in the past, Shidulu, for example, she was given the name Shidulu based off that she was mostly on termite mounds, which is what a Shidulu is, and that's kind of where the name came from. Marips, based off the fact that he was always around First Rock, that's where his name comes from. So it's, and then you've got Tandi, which is love, and there's all these kind of other names, but it was based off some sort of feeling that was associated to that animal, or some sort of behavior that animal exhibited. And that's kind of where those names come from. But all of the names, besides Langa and Shasha, actually, Langa is still part of this language, but all of the names come from the local language in this area. And so where those names actually come from is when anybody kind of is getting to the point where they're going to name them and they want to come up with a name, they'll be like, oh, this is what I want to say in English, and they'll ask the trackers or the guides from this area, the Shangaan guides from this area will give the appropriate wording or name for it, and then from there, that's how the name comes out. So that's kind of how the process works, and why these names are the way that they are. You'll find more kind of English style names for location areas. So a lot of the animals that come from certain locations, they like Three Rivers, for example, would be a prime example of a very English name for a leopard, whereas most of the names up here will have a more Shangaan feel to them, which will be English kind of things that people wanted to give that leopard as a kind of reference to its character, and then it was just converted into the Shangaan word, which is not always possible because there's not always one word for something. You know how it is with languages, you can't always just translate the exact same things. But yeah, that's kind of how it comes about, and that's why the words are the way that they are. But the naming thing is always a major story. The reason we name them is one is that we can follow the life of a leopard and understand which individual is which, and so that it just helps with the confusion of everything, that you can actually figure out, okay, this one is territorial here, and so it's easy to say, I mean, it doesn't matter what the name is, it could be leopard 43, if you wanted to call it that. And that would give you an individual in an area, so you know what that individual is, you know who she is, what she does, how she moves, whatever it may be. The other side of it is that the association of a name is then supplied to research organizations. Organizations like Panthera, which does a study on the leopards within the Sabi sands. And so when we kind of assign these names, Panthera then loads it in their system. That's the individual, that's the ID, and they then, from us logging sightings, so every time we see these animals, we'll log where we saw them, what they had. So like, for example, today it would be Shidulu, female leopard Shidulu, on a carcass is a duiker, male or female duiker. Was there any other predators present? Yes, no. Yes, there was a hyena present. And then you'll just kind of fill out as it goes. It's all these little drop-down menus. And they are then collecting all this data on all of these animals. And you can imagine how much data they've got on how many times leopard is with hyena, how many times lions are in a sighting with leopard, how many times lions and hyenas have fights, because all of that is recorded in that logging of that sighting. And then from there, they can then work out things about leopards and start to understand and start to grow our knowledge of the species communities, and they're combining all of the data from the Sabi sands and pouring it into a system, and we can then learn from that. Because, as we've said with a lot of animals, is that there's very, very specific areas that animals behave in specific ways. So, a leopard that behaves a certain way here, let's say on Djuma, might not be the same way that a leopard behaves at Londolozi. They might have a slightly different way that they do things, different prey favors or favorites that they have. And so that kind of is all very interesting information. And if you don't assign an ID, then it's very difficult to log that and to be able to give it across to people that are researching. So yeah, that's why the names are important. It's not so much that we just want to call it, like a pet. It's for research purposes as well. Well, she's still sitting. She hasn't moved much at all. So we're just going to sit here and enjoy. Like I say, with the rain coming, it's getting darker and darker to the south of us here. And I can see the next ridge is starting to slowly look hazy. And when that starts to happen, the rain is on its way. So I'm pretty sure if it starts to rain hard enough, she'll come down, which won't be ideal because she'll then hide. And she's in such a nice spot in the tree that it would be better to be able to spend time with her in the tree, but is what it is. So we'll see. It's worth just staying because I feel like if she doesn't come down, then she might eat, which will be nice. It's always interesting watching a leopard dissect a carcass in a tree. They're quite surgical at it at times, and other times they're quite brutal. I find the males tend to be very brutal about it. They tend to just grab and crush and break, whereas the females are a lot more clinical in the way that they feed. See lots of vultures still hanging around. She was watching the vultures actually, just kind of looking out and seeing what they were up to. But they were here not for the same reason that she's here. Maybe she came in initially hearing the hyenas, but it's not why this kill was made yesterday afternoon or last night. Wasn't made during the day yesterday. And those vultures were already here last night, so they would have had to have spotted it very, very early on to have started to accumulate the way that they did. Alright, well, it's going to be a patience game with her to see if she's going to get up to anything this morning.
This sighting has just been incredible, everyone. I was talking for ages, and I didn't realize I wasn't live. 3 adult lionesses and 7 cubs. Fighting, squabbling, the audio on a rainy day at Chitwa, just on the very eastern side of the dam. I hope you guys are paying for room 11. Look at that. We often get asked how many lionesses does it take to kill a buffalo, and I think these 3 have done it themselves. Obviously the cubs will not have been much help. I don't think there were any other lionesses or male lions involved. Now, I don't know how long we'll be able to stay in this sighting. It's a 2 mobile lock, and We've been here quite some time already, sadly, so we'll do our best. So nice to see the cubs again. The last time I saw them, getting so big. From a young age, the cubs are taught to be aggressive over food. Listen. This reminds me of a sausage tree pride sighting. They took down a buffalo. The cubs were all this size. It was wet. It was raining. But we were there. Reminds me of that. You can hear this. And it absolutely is aggression. Adults can be very aggressive towards the cubs, even their own cubs, at carcasses. So nice to see the Nkuhumas again. They all denned 2 years ago now on Djuma. Such a good time. But they have shifted side. 100%. Ladybug Sarah, you're asking about the cubs and the mothers. Now, I've counted 7, and that should be the total as far as my left. As far as my last update, there are 7 cubs, and that's what I've counted, which is great news. Now, I believe 3 of the oldest of these cubs belong to Original's Lioness daughter. The middle litter, which is quite similar in age, belong to the pale-eyed lioness, and I can see her. This must be all the mothers here. And the 2 youngest of the cubs belong to the tattered ear lioness. And all 3 of these lionesses, believe it or not, all mothers are accounted for, all cubs are accounted for, were born in 2016. But none of them are actually litter mates, if that makes sense. The pale-eyed lioness is a daughter of Purple Eye. There must be a little bit of a theme there with the eyes. The tattered-eared lioness is a daughter of Nana, who we call Nana. So all 3 of these lionesses are roughly the same age, but they're not litter mates, they're not siblings. Biafra, you're asking, is it easy for lion cubs to chew? I would imagine so. I mean, they look like they're chewing. Oh, that's so sweet. It's actually not that sweet. It's trying to get the blood. I think, yeah, it's easy to chew, especially at this age now. I mean, from what I can gather, the oldest of the 2 litters were born towards the end of April, and the youngest 2, early May. So, I mean, that's May, June, July, August, September, and we're now in October, 6 months. They'll be chewing fine and dandy. This is just an incredible sighting. They're loving it. I've got a comment, but no name, so I don't actually know who said this, but the Nkuhumas have done a great job at raising cubs. And they have. Nkuhumas did really well. They took a turn. The Nkuhumas went through a really difficult time, but they have completely turned it around, and they started that turnaround in 2019. And since then, they've really boomed as a pride. The Nkuhumas have suffered, especially during the drought, the white mussel disease. Ah, Sir 50, it's from you. Hello, Sir 50. I'm sure you're going to be very happy right now. But yes, they've done such a great job since 2019, that boom that we had on Djuma, till right now. Really incredible job. And let's hope they hold on to these cubs. Naturally, cub mortality rate is high across the board with predators, from cheetah, wild dog, hyenas, lions, leopards. Cub mortality rate is very high. Liam, you're asking who the fathers are. Liam, that's a great question. I mean, I would also love to know the answers, but we can only assume by who we've seen them mate with. And most likely the Avokas. But of course, the Nkuhumas go so far south now, it's really tricky to sort of keep tabs on them from a WildEarth point of view. But they still come under the male Avoca coalition. But mating is very easy, a very interesting topic, sorry. Because the female will mate with as many males as she can to confuse paternity. Her only concern is to conceive naturally. Sorry, I'm just keeping my ear on the radio. To conceive naturally, but then also to ensure protection. She just wants her cubs to survive. So by making many males in the area think that they are the father is such a smart move. Because then none of them will harm the cubs. But it's most likely, as far as I know, the Avokas. But as to which one, whew, I don't know. We need to do some DNA analysis in order to get that one. A study does say it's sort of the first male that mates with the female is normally the one that successfully sires a litter. Megan, you're as sane. Did that one just fall asleep while eating? Probably. Probably. Stations, who's standby one for the Ngoma sighting?
There's a line standing by.
What's your luck?
Yeah, I'm kind of north of G12.
Copy, make your way while they're getting ready to pull out. Sadly, there's a lot of pressure on this sighting. So let's just make the most of it while we can. Once that other vehicle comes, we all have to leave, I'm afraid. It's rather unfortunate. I think it's hilarious, Megan, when the cubs fall asleep while eating. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's also incredibly cute. We'll try and come back maybe later, or maybe we'll try and come back this afternoon. But this is a truly wonderful sighting. Definitely worth the wait. Imagine staying in room 11 and just hearing the vocalizations or hearing the kill. No. That would have been some experience. Okay, we got to go. While they're pulling out. Oh, sorry, that was my fault. Okay, we're gonna have to leave now, I'm afraid, everybody, but wow, what a fantastic sighting that was.
Sea Forest is a brand new experience on the WildEarth channel. Freedivers will explore the great African sea forest in Cape Town, while naturalists explain what we are seeing.
Like trees in a forest, these kelp provide food and shelter for many, many species.
Magical encounters with shy marine life, crustaceans, seals, and so much more will all bring a window of calm into an otherwise chaotic world.
We had a very exciting start to our morning this morning. Today, it's our guided sunrise safari with Mike, and we started by looking at the moon through a telescope, which was incredible. It's been a very different drive from all the other ones, very interactive.
Your pigeal gland is something the hoopoes have in common.
Hi. This morning's drive with Mike was thoroughly enjoyable. He really engaged us, but we also did some birding, and I managed to add a few new birds onto my list. Overall, every single experience with all the competitors has been really incredible, but it's up to the judges now.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals.
I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially sub-adults and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Oh. Shadulu is still napping, still taking it easy. Like I say, the weather is closing in. It's getting darker, dingier, and more rain falling by the second. So, you know, I think what we're going to find is just trying not to do too much in this weather. It's not kind of weather that anybody really wants to be too active in, except for maybe little lion cubs that seem like they're having the best time this morning. Like I was saying now, it's a pity that Lauren has to leave that sighting, but it's not surprising. Those lions on a kill like that in a place like Chitwa means that there's going to be a lot of cars interested, and so they are going to end up in a bit of a bun fight there to get in. So we're lucky up here with Shadulu. We've only had really the two cars from our side here, and then there's been one or two cars that have come past because of the main road, but no one's really bothered us too much, and no one else is trying to push us to kind of leave the sighting or anything like that. So we're lucky. It's one of the nice things about Djuma, is the vehicle density can get high in the sort of Easter, Christmas period, because we have a lot of landowners that traverse the property. But outside of that, it really isn't bad at all. We're very fortunate that we can spend often, 2-3 hours with our leopards or lions, and we don't really get too bothered. And a lot of the landowners and people that are involved here are very understanding of what we do, and they're very understanding that us staying in a sighting can be quite valuable from a number of reasons. They know that obviously we try to build a narrative and try and cover these animals' lives as much as we can, but on the same side, when they're moving, we have vehicles that can follow animals better than most, and that means that a lot of people are quite happy for us to stay with animals for quite long periods of time, because we often keep them much longer than they would have otherwise been able to. Good old Shadulu. So glad that she's graced us with her presence. She's been a bit MIA on Djuma of late, mostly been kind of on the western side, and that's partly because she's been mating, and it's also, this is not the core of her territory, so we don't always see her a lot. Always just kind of fleeting and her sort of walking through, and we get her for a drive or even a few minutes. But when she's got a kill like this, it's going to be nice that we have her, like I say, this afternoon and tomorrow morning probably too. I believe a lot of you are asking about Tingana. It's the same as I said yesterday afternoon, yesterday morning. No updates on Tingana. I don't know where he is. There's been no latest sighting on him besides the sighting on Malo Malo. That's the last actually recorded sighting with photographs. We're approaching almost a month since that sighting, so I don't know where he is. I have no one's had any news on him. I know somebody tagged me today in a video of an old leopard in Kruger, but it's not him. So yeah, I don't foresee sort of anyone kind of whipping out a sighting of him anytime soon. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea where he is or what's going on. He could arrive here right now. That's the crazy thing about Tingana. Sometimes he can disappear for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden there he is. He's just sitting there as though he's been there the whole time. So I don't know where he is, and I have no idea where his movements have been. I mean, like I said, there's just no updates on him. He might have crossed into Kruger. He might be sitting just off of the Sabi Sands boundary in Kruger, living the good life and full and happy and fat. I don't know. We just have no updates on him whatsoever. So it's always concerning, because the longer you don't have updates, the more likely something is to have happened. But I don't know. I kind of have this feeling that he's just going to show up somewhere at some point out of the blue, and everyone's going to be like, oh, there he is. So I'm not too worried just yet. But the reality is that he is aging. He is getting older. He's become nomadic. So he could be anywhere doing anything right now. But yeah, there's no updates, I'm afraid. Yeah, at this point, don't really care where he gets seen, as long as you kind of get an update on him. It would be nice. But the reality with leopards is often that you never get the updates. You never, they just unfortunately disappear, and that's that. It's not that they choose to do it. It's just that is what it is. It's a leopard. Lives quite a secretive life, and when they get into that old age and bad condition, unless somebody picks them up and sees them very skinny, like we did with the Mvula, the chances of finding a carcass or anything like that is almost zero. And quite frankly, sometimes I think it's nice for the male leopards, because females are a little bit different. Females, you often watch them as cubs, you watch them grow up, and you kind of want some finality to it. Whereas males, they arrive as enigmas in their own right, and when they disappear with kind of a legacy, I think there's something in that. I don't know why. I just like to think they kind of just disappear and go. I'd rather that than seeing an old sick Tingana with skin and bone being hassled by hyenas and potentially even being killed by something like that. That's not something I don't think any of us want to see. So maybe the fact that the last time he was seen, he looked so big and healthy and good, is a better way to remember him than seeing him in a situation where he's really struggling to survive. That's the way I feel about it, at least. I think others might feel differently, but in my eyes, I think, when you've seen a leopard and you've seen him for as long as we have with Tingana, because a lot of you that watch the show are fairly new, and might not even know who Tingana is. But Tingana is, he's been an institution in this area for the last 10 years. The first time I saw him was 10 years ago, and over 10 years ago now. And so, there's a big attachment there, but I would rather remember him as this big, solid, dominant cat than the cat that was skinny. I remember that I saw Willa the last time he was ever seen on Djuma, and he looked horrendous. It was a sad, sad thing to watch him just ambling and plodding and looking super tired of life. It wasn't very pleasant at all. So if Tingana doesn't make another appearance, at least, like I say, the last sighting of him was in a healthy state rather than an unhealthy state. But let's see. Hopefully he makes an appearance, if not here, somewhere. Nikanova, when was the last time I saw Langa? It's a long time for me, but the last sighting of Langa was a few days ago. It was like 3 or 4 days ago. She was seen on Hofmans, which is a property to the south of Djuma, and borders Little Gowrie and a property called Vessels. So she's been hanging around quite a bit on that area, and Hofmans, a little bit into Vessels. So she's been seen fairly regularly, actually, the last couple of days. She was MIA for about 2-3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, well, in fact longer, it was maybe even closer to a month, and then all of a sudden just popped up, and she's been seen, like I say, about 3 or 4 times in the last week that I've been here, which is quite interesting. So, yeah. Right, the weather is rolling in. Yay. I'm excited for wet, drizzly rain to make everything damp and wet and cold and miserable. Not the way we wanted to finish today. I was hoping for some sunshine today. But anyway, it's not like we can moan too much. We've had a good morning so far. I don't know if anyone actually ended up following the tracks for those Talamatis. I obviously gave up on them when we got here, so not sure if anyone did. Maybe they're on a kill of their own. Shitulu looks as though she is done for the day. She's like, I'm not moving anymore. I'm happy where I am. Jonathan, you say Shadulu is giving you positive vibes today. Well, that's a wonderful thing to hear. I'm very glad that she is doing that for you. It's always nice when a leopard gives somebody positive vibes. That's why leopards are the best. They give everyone the positive vibes. Although I'm pretty sure the lion camp today is shouting out loud that the lion sighting is far more enthralling than this leopard sighting, and I would probably have to agree that there is a lot more happening at that lion, well, was happening at that lion sighting while Lauren was there, than it's happening with Shadulu. But what we do have when we sit like this with cats that are sleeping in the form of Shadulu with a kill is that we get an opportunity to discuss lots of dynamics things, which is very cool. I always enjoy that side of things. It's very interesting to spend time and talk about leopards and, you know, what's going on. I actually wanted to maybe just do a quick thing with the map while we're sitting here, and just show you guys, because we talk about all these leopards and I've been rattling off names and maybe it's a little bit difficult to understand exactly where everybody is. So this is not the entire traverse. I mean, this is literally just Buffelshoek, Torchwood and Djuma, Simbili off to the side, Arethusa here, this down here is Arethusa, and then it goes into what's called Arethusa Private. This is Hoffman's, Little Gowrie, Vessels down below, Annette's down below, and Coral Cheetah Plains. So that's kind of the layout. But currently, just from a map point of view as to where these animals are moving, we'll start in the sort of far northeastern corner. This section, kind of from here, coming down, Jacana, Harlequin, Baobab, down like this. That's Kara as a female. So I'll do the females first. Kara coming there. Then what you've got is Shadulu. She comes from the gate here. So there's a slight overlap with Kara in that area. She comes down sometimes towards quarantine, but mostly she comes down the sort of western side through this block here. She has a big game path that she walks straight through the block down, and then she comes up onto Zoe's that way, and then down into Hoffman's, and then her territory is this kind of Arethusa, Simbili area as well. Then we've got Sabui at the bottom, so she's like this around the bottom down to Chitwa Dam into Hoffman's. Langa would be slightly below her here. Then above that is Tlalamba, which is the massive territory that comes all the way along like this, through Torchwood, down Chitwa, Little Gowrie, so she's got that big section there. Above her, over here, is where Nsele is. So Nsele is this area, and hangs around along these dams and that section. Then there's a very skittish leopard that's being seen in this section. I don't know how much she comes into Buffelshoek, but she gets seen around here. And then another leopard that was seen recently around this side that also seems quite shy and quite skittish, but right on the boundary and ran into Manyeleti. Then on this side you've got Monzo, Inkanyeni and Watika, and they all pretty much overlap along this section and come all the way down into Nkoro. So they have quite a long sort of north-south territory, but very short east-west by the looks of things. And then you've got Tandi, which is this section over here, and Kuchava, which is this section that comes down Cheetah Plains and Nets, and then here. So that's kind of the layout of the females across this section of the traverse. And then the males, that Jigga male, whatever, he comes down into this section, Big Dam, and then up and out, so he's around there. In Klangula is anywhere from Jordan's Dam, or Poacher's Road actually is where he comes in. Poacher's Road, he comes around Ngala Dam, Sussens, and then bends up and he comes out like this. Sometimes he'll go a little bit further. That Timbavati male has been pretty much this section, so in Singa, Ngala Dam, Sussens, moving around there. Tavangumi is this, over here into Manyeleti a little bit. Then you Tortoise Pan, who cuts down through this section over here. Mulawati is then the rest of this, all the way through. Yeah, he's got a big territory around like that. And then theoretically it should be quarantine around this sort of eastern side here. Where that Wabayiza was seen is over there. And then we obviously know that Marips is around Torchwood, Chitwa. Shasha has been all over the place. I mean, he's been seen in the stint since I've been here. He's been seen at Chitwa. He's been seen in Arethusa. He's been seen on Djuma. And he's been seen up in Buffelshoek. So he's going, and Torchwood. So he's going all over the place at the moment. Tsemba, as far as we can see, is mostly Chitwa and southwards, down into Little Gowrie, Chitwa, Annette's Vessels, Mala. And that's pretty much it for the leopard. So that gives you an idea of how they're distributed at the moment. I don't think I've forgotten anyone. I think I've got everybody there. So yeah, that's the kind of layout of leopards currently and where they sort of sit. So you can see the whole area is pretty well covered except for this section in the middle of Torchwood, and that's because if you look here, there's no water here. There's one water hole over here and one water hole over there, and the rest is all dry. And so this middle section between Second Rock and sort of Green Pan area is very devoid of leopard activity at the moment, and that's because of no water that's there, which means not a lot of prey animals. Good. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you understood that. We'll keep sitting with Shadulu and see if she decides to come down now that the rain is getting heavier.
Rain, rain, rain. I mean, we knew it was coming. But I was kind of hoping I could maybe finish drive before it happened. Ugh. But luckily it's not heavy. It's not going to flood the vehicles just yet. We have been flooded inside the vehicle before. If the rain blows sideways hard enough, we end up with puddles on the floor. But we're not at that stage just yet. So we're just bumbling back on Djuma. Although it's raining and miserable from a human perspective, the animals, of course, don't see it like that. We can still find sightings. And that's what we're going to do. Try and see if we can find any wet and soggy animals. They relish the rain. Thunder, lightning, heavy winds, maybe not, but the rain, absolutely. I do see some impala, but I also see a big bird up there that I want to go and investigate. I think it could be a vulture. But this lack of light plays havoc with my eyes. Hello, impala. Nice to see you. Yeah, it definitely looks like a vulture to me. Do you think we can get a long distance visual before it flies away? You can see the shape of a vulture miles away. A hooded vulture. Lots of big birds and vultures around right now. It's only one vulture, though it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but still, it's nice to have them around. My radio has just started to die. I'm just going to replace the radio. It's not ideal. Are you going to do the battery? Okay, bear with me. We had June for you all, everyone. But she was very close to the lion sighting and we couldn't stay for that long, so we had to leave. But June is sitting, gazing at the Ingrahumas, waiting. Thank you. For the lions to just miraculously leave the buffalo for her. I love June. One of my favorite hyenas, June. And she's so fabulous. But she is sitting at Chitwa, so if we do go back there this afternoon, hopefully we'll get to spend some time with her. Vulture, what are you waiting for? I think you should head to Chitwa. It's a good start. I think what you're looking for is there. Now I'm going to try and get a little bit closer. But naturally there's a chance it might fly away. There's a chance it might not. Barry, not at all. Not at all. They're not really social animals. You just find them all together because they're both after the same thing, food. So if you see one vulture, it's not really an indication that anything's going on. It's just they've probably just not had a chance to get up in the air yet. It's wet, it's soggy. Can you get it from here? Forgot about that issue, and it's flown off. Okay, well done, Lauren. That was 10 out of 10 guiding right there. The rain roof. So no, it's not unusual. The thermals, when the hot air rises and the cool air sinks in the morning, they can ride the thermals, but of course that's not going to happen on a day like today. And they're heavy birds, so by waiting to ride the thermals, they're actually reducing flappage. Can you get it from here? I love that word, flappage. They don't have to flap as much, and therefore they save 3 times the amount of energy. 3, that's a lot. Because every time they have to flap to sort of fly and keep their body up, it's hard because they are such heavy birds. It takes a lot of energy. They can do it, absolutely. But if they've not had a meal in a long time and they're hungry and their energy levels are not high, then that's a struggle. And that's why they do have the ability to store lots of food in that crop of theirs. Because a meal is not always a guarantee. Chitwa. Chitwa. Okay, I've communicated. Got the message. He knows where to go. But it's just literally on every drive now I'm seeing vultures or big birds of prey like tawny eagles, lots of bateleurs. And I had white-headed vulture last night. That's quite unusual for this area. I mean, we do see them occasionally, but it's definitely not common. And off we go. One of my favourite vulture sightings was in the Masai Mara. I'm sure some of you will remember that when I was up there. And we had this incredible sighting between a lappet-face vulture, a marabou stork, and a jackal. And the 3 of them were just all chasing each other and annoying each other. They were not trying to attack each other. They wanted the carcass that had been left behind by the salt licks. And then the North Clan jumped on it, so they were waiting. So the 3 of them just decided to all annoy each other, chase each other, run round in circles, bite each other's wings, slap each other across the face. It was such a good sighting. And off we go again. We're not happy. We're trying to avoid the rain. Jerome, good question. I want to say yes, because a large group of vultures could be actually quite terrifying. But then on the other hand, I have seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes, and one great example was myself, Michelle, and Michelle's daughter. We went out one day on quarantine. There was an impala, and Swazi got to it, good old Swaz. He was just over the moon, could not believe his luck, and there were so many vultures around there. He chased every single one off. There was a lot of whitebacks, and I'm talking 50 plus, and a handful of hooded. And they didn't get access to the impala. He chased every single one off. And this was when he was much younger, so he was still a young boy. And he managed to keep every single vulture at bay. I mean, they tried, but he kept them at bay. And even with Darkmane, when Darkmane was on the dead hippo at Ngala Dam in Buffelshoek, even when he was snoozing, just his presence was keeping them at bay. So I want to say yes, but I think it's actually no. They have an interesting relationship with hyenas. The hyenas will chase, but the vultures will chase back. But when it comes to lions, no, it's not worth it. The views are not exactly 10 out of 10 here, so we are going to keep bumbling. But yes, the relationship vultures have with other animals, especially terrestrial mammals, is fascinating. They're all familiar with each other and each other's role and each other's dangers and know exactly how to approach one another. Okay, we're going to keep bumbling in the rain and see what else we can find.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
Well, we're still with Shadulu. She's unfortunately... Sorry, I'm trying to find my mic. I put a beanie on and I don't know where it fell to. So if you hear a bit of movement, I do apologize. It's starting to get quite a lot of rain, so we have to put rain covers on and just sort all of that out. As you can, I don't know if you can see it in the picture with Shadulu, the drops coming past now, starting to get quite wet quite quickly. I thought we were going to make it. I was like, we almost made it to the end of drive without worrying too much. You can see even she's starting to groom herself now. And that's always an indication that they're getting quite a bit of rain on them. I wonder if she's going to stay up or if she's going to decide to come down. I wonder if it ever gets to the point where it's too treacherous to climb. It gets like slippery and they feel like a little bit unsteady. Shame, Michael, you're not happy about this rain. Don't worry, I'm not either. The good news, though, is that her carcass won't go off. It'll be nice and fresh and devoid of any heat. It's just going to be a well-hung duiker by the end of this. Just nice and tender and tasty for her later on. She'll mow through it pretty quickly, though. You'll see it won't last long. This duiker, like I said, by maybe tomorrow morning she'll still be here, but she could finish it potentially even by tonight. But she'll be here this afternoon, that's for sure. There's just enough on that she ain't going anywhere this afternoon. Black widow spider, I hope so. I mean, Panthera is busy with their DNA analysis. So, you know, as long as we've got his scat, but the trick in all of this is somebody's going to have to get Mulawati scats, because the way that DNA sequencing works is they try and match it to a profile that they already have. And so if no one collects Mulawatis, it will just be unknown father. It doesn't match any of the scat samples in their database, then they can't tell you who it is. So somebody's going to have to try and find Mulawatis, which means somebody's got to try and find him on a kill, see him defecate, and then grab it, which is going to be interesting. I don't know how easily that's going to be achieved, but hopefully it will, because that's who we think it is. But maybe we'll get a shock and it'll come back as Tingana or something random like that. That's also very, very possible, all things considered. So, yeah, I mean, I hope we will. I hope we'll know who his father is. Same as Hosana and, you know, Tumba, we can get confirmation on them. I think Tumba we got confirmation on, but Hosana we didn't ever get confirmation on who his was. But, I mean, we all think Tingana and pretty sure it's him, but you never know. Tiani was still the shocker for me. I'm still not convinced. I don't know why, I'm just not. I just want to cling to it, I think. I'm in denial more than anything else. Like I say, they've proven that it was Tingana that fathered Tiani, and not Anderson, although she just looks so much like him. It's scary. She looks like Anderson, she doesn't look like Tingana. But anyway, we know we can't go on looks, so it's not always about that. Sometimes it's just the way genetics work. But I think it's going to be a very wet, very damp day today. It's this kind of weather that we get sometimes where it just closes in and it just stays the whole day. It doesn't leave. It just is what it is. So I'm really hoping that it decides to stop this afternoon. I don't mind if it rains this evening. It'll be nice and during the day, but it will be really nice if it stops for the afternoon drive. It is quite like to be dry. It's also not very pleasant to have to pack up have wet clothes everywhere and having to put wet clothes in a bag. That's never nice. We all know what that can be like. So let's pray for a nice dry afternoon so that I don't have to have a wet bag or wet bag of clothes. Yeah, not pleasant. This rain is coming in sideways right now. I think that's how everyone feels this morning, like a sigh of kind of not enjoying this. I see all the vultures, they're all heads down, hunkered down on the dead trees here. They're still here from last night. Shitulu is not exactly enthralled by this. And like I said, the only animals that have been active this morning has been those lions. Seems like most of you guys at home are also fast asleep too, because it's been very quiet in my ear. So if you are awake, please do ask questions. It certainly does help when we do these endlessly long segments on a sleeping leopard. All right, so we're going to stay and see, like I say, we'll just finish out the drive with her. We've committed, we might as well do it. It's not that much longer now. Hopefully she'll at some point start to feed or at least give us something.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
The scrap here collected a dry grass, put it next to the water hole as the hippo walks down during the warm of the day to drink the water. When the hippo arrives, he saw quite a very nice grass, an area not to resist to rest. And when the hippo went down to drink the water, and when finished the water, he just lied down. And then, that was the opportunity of the scrappy. You know what? Today is my day to pay the revenge.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I got into wildlife filmmaking because of a passion for nature and a notion that I could make a difference. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun. A couple of times per week, we receive some very heartfelt messages from viewers telling us about how WildEarth has made a difference in their life, whether it's helped them through a difficult period or simply helped them to reconnect with nature. I think that's why we do what we do.
Our search in the rain has not been very fruitful so far. I am coming just a little bit closer to home. Things are steadily getting very wet. I'm very much looking forward to breakfast and a good old cup of tea. Earl Grey all the way. Okay, the director's saying you can see the rain cover. We're just trying to protect the lens as much as possible, and that's what it is. It's just very wet, not just a little bit. So you may see the rain cover, but that's okay. Okay, we've just popped. Let's take a look at Gowrie Dam. Oh, Gowrie Dam is not empty. Megan, you're asking why there's no traverse on Buffelshoek anymore. I think we'll have to wait for an official announcement on that one. Maybe FC can help me out here, but yeah, we're not traversing on Buffelshoek and Torchwood anymore at the moment. FC, are you able to clarify? Ah, FC said no idea. Isn't this lovely? 2 giraffes at Gowrie Dam. Look how pale they are. Very, very pale giraffes. My binos are actually tucked away because of the rain. I can't see the sex from here. Oh, there's more. There's 2. There's another set of 2. Yeah, 2 boys. And there's 2 necking here. I'm going to go forward so we can get these ones. They're necking. Doesn't look entirely serious, but there's 2 sets of 2. These ones are naked. They look young from what I can see, so I'm not entirely sure if it's serious. And I think these ones are also doing the same thing. Ah, fabulous. Gowrie Dam was the right call. Wow, this is amazing. They're just shoving each other around. They're small and they're skinny. I don't think this is a proper battle. Younger boys, when it comes to giraffes, tend to do this. Sizing each other up. Very similar to elephants when you see the young elephants. Testing their strength. Practicing their moves. So lovely. Let's just watch them for a moment. The one on the left is definitely bigger, you can see that, but they're both still young. I'm just letting you enjoy this moment. Oh, it's almost like a dance. You can hear the birds, the Egyptian geese. A bit of lateral presentation, standing side by side, waiting for... Oh, look, they're bumming each other. Oh, that didn't sound very right, sorry. I mean, they're knocking each other with their bums. Oh, it came out wrong. Yes, they're pushing each other with their bottoms, and then, oh, look, they both bend their necks at the same time. This is remarkable. I've not had a sighting like this in a while. Cindy, no, they don't. Females don't behave like that. And again, very similar to elephants, so females don't do that. Really, I mean, maybe when they're a calf, they might jump on another one's back and wrestle a little bit in the form of play. But naturally, when the boys get a little bit older, especially teenage years, they really start to tussle, and females don't do this. Look at that. They're dancing. I really don't think this is serious. There's a whole lot of practicing going on here. You know, one of my most disturbing sightings, and I've had a few, the top, 2 of them in the top 5 have been giraffes. One of them was a female that just gave birth in the Masai Mara, and the calf died, and the North Climber there, that was hard. Many of you will remember that. And the other one was a necking pair. Now, many of you are saying this is fascinating, and it is. Just watch them. Watch how they're... Look at them, keeping each other apart with their bums. That's what I mean. They're pushing with those back legs into each other. And that sighting I had with necking giraffes, it was the real deal. And I mean real deal. It wasn't practice like this. It was, I am trying to kill you or get you to leave immediately. Blood everywhere. And it was at Tswalu. I was visiting Tswalu, and we were just driving back to camp, and we could hear the sound. It's like that. The slap of skin like that, and just this intense sort of banging. And when we investigated it, it was 2 necking giraffes, and one had been really badly injured in this breastbone in the chest due to another one's ossicones, and there was blood everywhere. And it really wasn't pleasant. They were genuinely trying to injure each other. They were huge, they were dominant, they were fully grown. Bit of a dispute. You need to learn, I guess, like young human boys. Fighting is awful. I hate it when boys fight, but they fight when they're young and teenagers, because naturally men are the more aggressive species of the 2 across the board. So they've got to practice, they've got to learn what they're doing, and that's exactly what they're happening here. So we're going to sit and watch a little bit longer. We're sitting watching 2 necking giraffes at the dam, Gowrie Dam. It's like copycats. It's like they're mirroring. That's a really hard word to say. Mirroring. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say. Each other. There's so many lovely sounds around the dam right now is alive, even though it's raining. So we're just going to sit here for a few minutes, enjoy watching this pair and listen to the sounds around us. Isn't this just amazing? What a sighting, honestly. And it just happens to be around a dam, which is a beautiful place, beautiful setting, beautiful ambience. Amazing. I'm not going to go anywhere.
Well, we're still at Shadulu. She's still sitting up there. The rain has eased off slightly now, but it's still very white around us, and so it's not, don't think we're going to see the last of the rain today. Unfortunately, though, it is that time where we're going to probably have to leave. There's 2 vehicles that are still waiting to get into the sighting, and I mean, we have been here for almost 2 hours and 40 minutes. So, you know, maybe we need to be good about making a space for some other guys. So I thought we'd just give you guys one last look at Shadulu before we meandered on. I'm pretty sure she's going to be here this afternoon, so if you're just tuning in now and you didn't get much of a view of her, be sure to tune in later, because I'm pretty sure she's going to still be here. I don't think this cat is going anywhere. I think she's going to enjoy her day, just resting and taking it very easy. It's a nice tree that she's got, and the weather is good for her just to take it easy. She won't require huge amounts of water today, given how cool it is, and she'll even be able to gather moisture off of her own coat, as well as if she came down. Sometimes you'll see if it rains, the leopards will come and lick the grass, and they'll get the moisture off the grass itself. So yeah, I think she's good, and then she's getting the blood out of her gill as well, so she won't need any water requirements or have to walk for water. So I think she's just going to be here the whole day, which is nice. It'll make for a good afternoon. All right, like I say, we're going to make our way out now. We'll leave her to herself, allow some others to come in, and we'll go and see what else we can find.
We're still watching these giraffes. And that there definitely is a remarkable size difference. They're not the same age. Roundabout, yes, but and they are walking away. And if you just take a swing to the right, ever so slowly along Central, the other pair is still there. Oh, you're looking at us. Hello. Yes, we saw everything. Yeah, and there's the other pair. 4 male giraffes on Central. Isn't this just amazing? Ian, 100%. Sorry, I'm just so engrossed in the sighting. I'm just letting you guys enjoy it. I'm finding this really fascinating. Ian, 100%, but every animal does. If you think about it. Birds migrate. Yes, to breed, but there needs to be enough food to be strong enough to start breeding and calling and advertising and seeking. I mean, most of the great migrations that happen across the world, from the bats to the zebras, the wildebeest, the white-eared cobs, turtles migrate, whales migrate, it's normally for food. At the end of the day, whether it's directly or indirectly, it's normally they follow the food. I mean, food is survival. You can't survive without eating. Even insects come out in summer so that there's more available for them. Lots of animals lie dormant, lots of animals wait until the right temperatures or the right conditions. I mean, think about the 17-year cicada. But it's all to do with the food. Wait till the right temperature or conditions to come out, and then everything around you will sort of flourish and you'll be able to survive, depending on what species you are. Even in the ocean, you find when the reefs bleach, coral bleaching, which really happened badly across the world, Maldives being one of those places in 2016 from the El Nino. Not the El Niña, and El Nino, which is a natural phenomena, but sadly it's becoming a lot more frequent and a lot more intense, as with everything, due to climate change. And the 2016 bleaching, which occurred while I was there, was just horrifying. Horrifying. I literally physically vomited, and I'm sorry that's not a very pleasant thought for you all, but I was so shocked at what happened to the reefs overnight. And they were a sickly white. I was in the water, there was a strong current, and it was sickly white. I just couldn't handle it anymore. And the Maldives lost 90% of their coral. Once the coral bleached, that was the food source for many species. So once the coral died, slowly but surely you saw less fish, less crustaceans, less mollusks, less gastropods, less pelagics, a lot less sharks, less turtles. That whole sort of habitat collapsed, very fragile. It became very vulnerable, and everything left because at the end of the day there was no food anymore. And it's a chain. The small fish eat the coral or the algae inside coral, then the big fish eat the small fish, and the even bigger fish eat the big fish, and it just continues like that right up until sharks. So across the board, animals follow food. Even if they don't migrate as such, they might make just seasonal changes. Giraffes are a good example of that. They do wander far and they come into certain areas for certain foods at certain times of the year. Oh, this is just too wonderful. It looks like this pair is not going to give up for the rest of the day.
The WildEarth channel now runs for 24 hours a day and is filled with exciting wildlife experiences for the whole family. In addition to our twice daily live safaris from Africa, we launch Sea Forest. Free divers explore the great African kelp forest under the water in Cape Town, while naturalists on the surface explain what we are seeing in real time. Our Escape to Nature series features exceptional wildlife footage throughout the day, and here you can immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of nature. And finally, we are launching a brand new penguin experience later this month, where you can follow the lives of a group of African penguins daily and in real time. If you want to join in on these experiences, then head over to wildearth.tv/channel to see where you can watch. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
It's day 1 of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition. And our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
It's either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, 2 to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
We're still sitting here and it's still going on, all 4 of them. You can see there's no impact. There's a lot of swinging, they're practicing their moves. I mean, swinging a neck like that cannot be easy. I can barely swing my neck and it's not quite the same length as that. Gotta get it right. Just for anything you have to train, you have to practice to be good at it. But there's no real impact, or they're not hurting one another. And that one on the right knows it is smaller. It's the weakest link. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at different giraffes, my bad. Granny Bumble? What a great name. Granny Bumble, are you our granny when we were on a bumble? We do need a granny sometimes. That's a great question, and to be honest, I don't conclusively know. In terms of scientifically, I don't know. But I would guess that in essence, yes. Possibly not directly. There's probably not a sort of cognition there that is saying, oh, there's a young boy, I need to teach him, if that makes sense. Because this older one is not old. It's not an older giraffe. It's just bigger and slightly older than that other one. So essentially they are 2 young giraffes. So I don't know if it's teaching. I think they both are just learning. It's a learning experience. You won't find the older bulls, the stink bulls we call them, teaching a young boy. It wouldn't work like that. So they are both of similar age. It's just that one definitely is older. You can see that there's a difference in neck size. Look at the neck development there, but not by much. So there's possibly a little bit of teaching going on, but I don't think it's directly. I think they're both learning from this experience. Look, they're both walking, but they're very, very aware of each other here. Constantly looking at this, giving the side eye, knowing what that other one is doing. Mimicking each other. White mane, I've never seen that. It's not so easy for a giraffe to balance on 3 legs. I mean, I can barely balance on 2. Oh, there's all 4 of them. Look at this. Not really a common occurrence for Djuma. Tswalu, yes. Masai Mara, yes. They're walking and necking. You know, the minute a giraffe loses his balance and falls, it really is game over. It's not easy for a giraffe to get up. And that's where the predators win, and that's where an opponent could win. So kicking, they can kick, and they will kick a lion. There's some horrifying videos on YouTube of that happening. But really, when battling with a member of your own species, they neck. I've never seen kicking. I mean, it may happen, but they're really using their necks. And they're trying to club each other with the ossicones. It's a really not pleasant thing to watch. And they're trying to go for that chest area, the bottom of the neck, the breastbone, and trying to go for the rib cage. They'll smash their ossicones into the rib cage a lot, and it can really, really be quite serious. Snap ossicones. We had a giraffe here whose eyeball was hanging out by a singular piece of tissue. And that was from clubbing. And ossicone had clearly went in the eye. And it's not pleasant. Now, if you are watching the dam cam, there may possibly be a view of this from the dam cam. I'm not sure. But they are heading east on Central. But what a drive it's been from Shidulu to the Inkahomas with cubs on a buffalo to this epic sighting of giraffes. I hope the rain's not too bad for this afternoon so we can still get out, we can still drive roads. The terrain's not too soggy. Oof. Now it has come to that time, the end of the sunrise safari, although the sun didn't make much of an appearance. But at least from Tristan and I, it's a big thank you for jumping on board. Djuma will say goodbye, but good news, you can actually stick around. Stick around a little bit longer for Penguin Beach with Devon. They will be going live with not giraffes, not elephants, but the penguins. So stick around, everyone, for that. But from Djuma, we shall say goodbye, and please do join us this afternoon. Until then, have a great day.